So you want to play Dungeons and Dragons? Awesome. I'm excited to get you into your first Dungeons and Dragons game. First, we need to talk about a few things that might make it hard for you to get into the game of Dungeons and Dragons. Let's talk about why you want to play. Why did you decide that this is the game that I want to play? Were you scrolling through Twitch and you saw a group called Critical Role, one of the biggest names in Dungeons and Dragons today? They are a group of voice actors that played Pathfinder and turned over to Dungeons and Dragons, began streaming it on Twitch, and now have probably the most viewers on Twitch for a Dungeons and Dragons game ever, and I'm pretty sure that's a fact. Maybe you listen to podcasts. Maybe there was a podcast that you heard. That's how I got into it. I heard The Adventure Zone, and I've been hooked to their content from the McElroy brothers ever since. They created a game on their own and hooked me into their game so much that I had to play the same game. I had to play this game of Dungeons and Dragons that I never played before. I know that's still fairly recent, probably within the last 5 to 8 years. So for that to make me join this amazing community of Dungeons and Dragons, I'm pretty proud of it. Whatever. So I've been DMing for 5 years. I've been playing for 5 years, 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons, and I would say after about 5 years of dungeon mastering with the group of people that I've grown close to, I could say I'm kind of an expert. I've been through the ringer. I've had some games where they went awful. I've had some games I've had to stop halfway through because I couldn't figure out what to do next. But being with a group of friends that respects me for being in their DM, they gave me my time to put it together, and it's one of those things that happens. So, first off, finding yourself a group. Finding a group is the hardest part about Dungeons and Dragons. If you can't find a group, you can't play. First thing you can do is ask your friends. If you ask your friends, you might be able to find a group. Don't be afraid. I asked my friends, that's how I got my group. Now we're adding people in. We have 6 players, DM, so 7 of us all together. If you can't find any friends to play D&D with, you can check your local game shops. Your local game shops will have hours for Dungeons & Dragons and different RPGs, Pathfinder, etc. You can talk to the owner. The owner will give you probably the name of the dungeon master, and they will give you the information. There are a lot of Adventures Leagues, which is a D&D product. And then there's also other RPGs and other games going on in these game shops. And you can also buy the books there, most likely. Don't be afraid to help the small businesses. They are hurting right now if you want to buy the book. Facebook groups. Facebook groups are huge now. You can find anything you need on a Facebook group. There is a Dungeons and Dragons group for your state on Facebook. You can go to Kansas Facebook group, Dungeons and Dragons Kansas, and find people that are looking for groups or looking for players. This is probably the easiest way to find them. Just remember that you might not get along with all these people. You got to find a group that's perfect for you. It might take some time. Don't worry about it. And I understand that you might just want to play D&D. There's other venues that you can go about without having to just jump onto a group and say, hey, I'm here and I'm going to play, and not have fun. The main reason of playing a game is to have fun. If you're not having fun, then maybe it's not the group that you need to be part of. So with that, you can go to online groups if you're looking to just play the game. If you just want to play the game, go to online groups. You can find a group on Roll20. You can find groups on Tabletop Simulator. And you might even be able to get a few friends on Discord just to jump in and play. You might not know what you're doing, but at least you're getting some game time. A lot of Dungeons and Dragons games fall apart. You need to find a group that's willing to continue going. I've been with a good group for over almost 5 years. We're saying probably about 5 years, maybe a little bit more. I'm just lucky that I have them as friends, and now we get to play a game together every week. If you're nervous about role playing, there's plenty to go around. You can be the type of player that just says what they want to do. I'd like to go over and open that door and look in. That's fine. You don't have to be I'm the dwarf wizard. I will cast the spell and blow the dragon up. You don't have to do that. You don't have to. You could say, hey, I just want to cast the spell and hopefully blow that dragon up. Can I do that? The Dungeon Master will take care of you. You will slowly get into role-playing more when you get used to playing with your group. So don't take it too hard that you're not role-playing enough. You will get there. That's not a big deal. The biggest deal about being a new player in a game is being attentive. Pay attention. If you're not paying attention, why are you playing? If you want to have fun, you should know what's going to happen. If you don't know what's going to happen, and you you look away from your phone and they ask you a question and you have no idea what's going on, that's not fun for your friends either. Pay attention to what's going on, because if you're not paying attention, then you're going to miss out on 90% of the fun. It's hard for the Dungeon Master to put a game together and just say, okay, well, here you go, and I hope you guys like it. No, they put a lot of work into this, and they really want you to enjoy what you're doing. So pay attention, be vocal, and don't be afraid to step on people's toes and ask questions. You're new. They should respect that you're new. So remember that. Ask questions. Your DM can help you during the week, and the player should be able to help you during the game if you're having an issue. If you don't have a player's handbook, don't worry about it. The first couple weeks, figure out if you like the game. Don't go and buy all the equipment and then hope that the game works out for you. If you don't like the game, you don't need to stick around. Have fun. Remember that. Have fun. The books, everyone, if you join a group that's already been together for a while, they all have the books. Ask if you can borrow a book for a week and look it over and bring it back the next week with a couple of character sheets that you created because you were bored and you want to know the game better. If that's the case, do it that way. There's other options too. You can get a Dungeons and Dragons Beyond, which is D&D Beyond, sorry. D&D Beyond, which is an app for your phone made by Dungeons and Dragons to make it easier and quicker for you. I like the hardcover books. That's preference. A lot of the younger community is happy with the apps and the different computerized iPhones, iPads, different ways to do their work like that. It's fine. The one recommendation that I have for new players that doesn't consist of technology is pencil and paper character sheet. If you are a new player and you want to learn how the character sheet's set up, what the different numbers are, do a pencil and paper character sheet. You can print them right from the Dungeons & Dragons website. You can get the whole character sheet, pencil, paper. That's all you need. You write down your character from that pencil and paper. You can get the basic rules online too. Or if you borrow the player's handbook from someone, you will learn the stats faster. You will learn your character faster. You'll know your race. You'll know your class options. These are all things that we're going to go over next week when we go through the player's handbook. But this is by far my number one recommendation for being a new player and creating characters. Pencil and paper. Write everything out. You'll remember it better. You'll see things. You'll see the numbers. You'll add the numbers. You'll know how they work. And when it comes to game time, you'll know where they are on the character sheet. Eventually, you'll probably move into digital. I have a few on apps, but I still, to this day, will always have my character on pencil and paper. I have 3 of them right here next to me right now from old campaigns that we've played. It's my number one thing. I think. Well, my number one thing is have fun. My number one Dungeons and Dragons thing is make a character sheet, pencil, and paper. So next week we're going to go over making a character. We'll go over the player's handbook more than making a character. The making a character part will come with the player's handbook, but we'll go over the first 2-3 chapters. I think it's the first chapter. The first chapter is making your character with the stats, race, class. First chapter, race. Second chapter, class. Third chapter is tools and whatnot. We'll go over all that stuff. I'll bring my book up. My book's seen better days, but I'll bring my book. We'll go through the pages, and hopefully we can get to a good point where you're ready to create your character on your own. If you have any questions, comments, you want to know something specific, don't be afraid to ask. Throw it in the comments down below. Share this, like, subscribe, whatever it is. We're going to have some fun. I know we're still getting used to each other, but let's have some fun. Let's do this, all right? Thank you very much, and peace. Smooches.